All right, y'all, welcome to PTC Cast episode 13. Today, Chris and I go a little bit into decision making, a little bit into the light side and the dark side, and, making those decisions, channeling your own energy. And we also dive into nutrition a little bit for this one as well, just to give y'all some things to look forward to here. So this is PTC Cast episode 13. I'm Alex Martin. You can check us out at Progress Through Change on Instagram or progressthroughchange.com, where you can get your free 4 Easy Habits for Fat Loss guide. This is Chris Saldana. You can check him out at Cholito Saldana on Instagram and pickasitellc.com. Or is it just pickasite.com?
Pickasite.com.
Pickasite.com. Pick your site. Make your site. Yeah. Present your business as professionally as possible,
yep,
man.
Exactly.
You have to. Name of the game. Enjoy. That was one of the first celebrity deaths that really got me.
For real?
Was Mac Miller. Yeah, for sure, man. That's one that I remember pretty vividly. I remember exactly where I was when Michael Jackson died. Mm-hmm. I was at McDonald's in Little Elm. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what booth. Those memories, like you can see perfectly in your head. Like I remember watching the news story that like Michael Jackson was dead. I was like, dang, man.
I remember when Michael Jackson died. A good-ass singer, amazing singer and dancer. My mom was sitting there crying in the car, and we didn't listen to anything but Michael Jackson movie for like the next month.
Oh, really?
And I was like, obviously growing up, I'm sure she listened to Michael Jackson a lot. But it's just funny how when these people died, that's when we actually
It's weird how it impacts us.
Yeah.
Because at least from like a musical artist standpoint, with Mac Miller, I was listening to him a lot as a kid. And there was a time when I was a kid, like 14, 15, I was dealing with a lot of GI issues and had my gallbladder out, appendix out, and like a couple different things like that. And Mac Miller is like what I was always listening to on repeat. So I think that's why it
because you can connect it to something.
Yeah, because it was at that time his music did a lot for me. Mm-hmm. So I think as you get older and you feel like you don't feel like you know them, but you feel like their music speaks to you or their performance as an actor speaks to you. Know what I'm saying? So it's weird how we create these personal connections, even though they're watched and consumed by millions of people every day.
Yeah, but then it's like individualized to you. Mm-hmm. That's the weird thing, yeah.
Do you ever follow someone on Instagram or respond to their posts and stuff like do you feel like you know people on Instagram that you've never met?
I guess I'm sure there's some powerlifters that I've been talking to on Instagram that I think I know, but one, I'm not going to shake it. One thing that or one person that I feel like I knew was George Lehman, and obviously that's not Instagram, that's YouTube.
Yeah.
But I felt like at the time I had a big connection with him, and we're like one and the same, even though I don't know shit about George Lehman.
Sure.
But I guess it was the fact that there are similarities as to what he was saying and what I was believing at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I bridged that gap between us, even though there was no, I guess, real relationship.
Yeah.
But we create our own.
Right. But whatever he was posting or preaching about or training, it spoke to you in a certain way that you felt almost like it was intently made for you.
Yeah, I remember I started watching George Lehman at the age of 17. Or I was 17 and a half. It was right before.
Will you explain who George Lehman is?
Yeah, George Lehman is the baby slayer.
Is that like his nickname?
That's his nickname.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, do you know the story behind it?
No.
So, no. I may get it a little bit wrong, but his little brother died when he was a baby. And
I feel bad.
So
I'm giggling at the name.
No. Whenever he deadlifts, you can see he has some insane emotions, and that's
Sure.
because whenever he does deadlift, he lifts as if, if he was to get this weight or this amount of reps, then he would be able to bring his brother back. So they started calling him the Baby Slayer. Mm. Yeah, and I think it was T Nation or some kind of forum.
Yeah.
Where he was known as the Baby Slayer, but
just his way to put emotion into the bar and to try to challenge try to channel some of that inner rage, inner feeling,
dude.
Inner emotion.
When you're pushing your body and your mind to the limits, you have to have something that's some sort of tangible like obviously in his case it's not tangible, but he made it tangible to himself, you know? Like he says, and I completely believe him, when he, you know, lifts these weights, that he truly believes in his heart that if he was to get it, that he would get his brother back. And because of that, like that allows him to like just do things that shouldn't be possible by humans.
Do you think all top athletes have to come from a place like that, like some sort of raw emotion, some sort of mental game? Like, did you ever watch? Oh man, I'm not gonna be able to think of the name of the documentary, but they did a Michael Jordan documentary within the last couple of years. And there's one game, and I'm gonna butcher the player's name or whatever. But anyways, there's a game where I guess Michael Jordan wasn't doing too hot, and but he made up in his head that a player on the other team called him some kind of name or some kind of slur or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he kept like he was like saying stuff to the guy, and like he made it up in his head. But then after the game, he was like, no, he never said that. Like it was the emotion, it was the perception he created in his head that gave him an extra like ounce of emotion, ounce of rage.
It's the edge.
Do you think every top athlete has some sort of that?
Yeah, and I think that if it doesn't exist, you know, they create it. Like you just said. You said Michael Jordan did that? Yeah, like Michael Jordan created that fantasy in his head in order to get an edge on his competition.
And he was like, okay, let me show you what's up. And the guy never said a word to him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then that's George Lehman's fantasy, or not fantasy, but that's how he gets an edge, and that's how he's able to invoke these emotions to push past, you know, what he wouldn't be able to do normally.
Yeah.
And I know whenever I started powerlifting, my thing was the world was against me, and you know everybody hated me, so I wanted to show them that, you know, I couldn't be fucked with, and they're not willing to do what I'm willing to do. And because of that, because I was able to believe in that, it allowed me to, you know, work harder than anybody do.
It's kind of like channeling some of that dark side of the force kind of stuff, man. Like it's being able to like use that, you know, whatever emotion to your advantage, being able to channel it a little bit. And I think there's a weird dichotomy there, because you don't want to create too many negative emotions around training, and we've talked about before, you know, the draining feeling that comes from that. So it's really, I don't know if it's like a long-term sustainable thing, but it is super interesting to me to be able to kind of pull some stuff out of the dirt, pull it out of your deep inside your core, whatever you want to call it, to really channel and manifest a little bit. Like I know from my first two bodybuilding competitions, they were like strictly fueled by breakups. Like I broke up with the girl I had been dating with at the time, and it was just strictly guided by like, all right, I'll show you, you know. And that was same to, you know, anybody else who was a doubter or had something to say. Like being able to channel those emotions, the things people say. Like, do you think you're fueled more by like your haters or your believers? I hate saying haters because I feel like it's kind of a corny phrase, but like, do you think you pull more from that dark side or from that light side?
Yeah, so that's different, you know, haters versus believers, and then dark and light. You know, I'm sure that there's some times where I pull, you know, some like haters that have been in the past, and I use that for fuel.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's not like I don't give a fuck about if somebody likes me or doesn't like me.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, well, first of all, to say, you know, hate, good or bad emotions.
Sure.
Personally, I think negative emotions can be way more powerful in the immediate than positive emotions.
Yeah.
Like, going back to, there's a speech on YouTube of George Lehman, and I'm not saying that it's true because he said it, but I truly believe, you know, this statement that he said. And he was like, well, hey, do you know, all these moms that you see, you know, picking cars up off of their children, do you think that they're able to do that because everything is just going fine in their head? You know, do you think that they can go out and have a promotion and smoke weed and, you know, have the best day of their life and then go pick a car off of somebody? Like, no, it doesn't work like that. They're in their heads, they're thinking about somebody burning alive, and, you know, dying, and using that.
It comes from the fear.
Using that fear,
adrenaline from the fear. It's very primal.
Yeah, that's what it is. It brings out this primal being inside of us, and a lot of people I know, like, it's just sitting there waiting dormant, and sometimes it can break out, not on purpose from a anxiety attack or something like that, or you can actually use it to direct it, with something good, like as a power lifter, I direct it to my squat, bench, and deadlift, and whatever other accessories. So. Yeah, it's just, I guess, being able to control negative emotions and being able to use it for whatever you choose to use it for.
Yeah, and I think it's highly. I think coming from a place like that is a little more exhausting than from a light, happy place.
It is,
but it's also going to take you that extra ounce, that extra pound, that extra. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's being able to channel that a little bit. There's a lot of people I see in almost every gym that I've ever trained at, and they're typically like regular, not big box gyms, but just generic, like mom and pop shop, not a crazy clientele, not people that are hyper athletes or anything like that. But there's some people, man, that you watch them train and for a fact that there's something. I don't want to say there's something wrong, but there's something like
driving them.
Yeah, there's something that they're, I'm going to say, running from, but not in a bad way. There's something that they're fighting off. There's something that they're channeling and working through.
Yeah, and it's almost like, you said running from, but I think that's like running to it. That's because
maybe attacking it.
Yeah, like going throughout your day, like you're not going to be able to, or I don't think that you should be. Letting these negative emotions go toward other people and other things like that. So, when I had those emotions running through me, I would wait until, it's time to lift. And then I would work through those emotions in the weight room. And, that allowed me to at least be somewhat happy outside of the weight room. Now, I don't have those negative emotions 24/7. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I refer to it with my clients pretty often as fuck you energy.
Yeah.
So it's like... Sometimes, I have a client and maybe the food journal's been off, maybe haven't been walking, maybe we've been, cutting reps shy in the gym, stuff like that. And it's like at some point you have to get a little mad about it, man. You have to draw a line in the sand and you have to set some standards for yourself and know that, like, hey, I perform to this level. These are the tasks that I complete. And if I don't, I'm going to be pissed off about it. I'm going to be upset about it. Yeah, man, especially when it's the simple stuff, man. Like if it's food journaling, if it's walking, like there's things like that like if there's some basic level habits that you're struggling to handle, you either got to check out your totem pole, your list of values, your priorities, or you got to get mad about it, man. You have to decide that, like, I am going to do this and nothing's going to get in my way. And if anything gets in my way, I'll stay up later. I'll get up earlier. I'll sacrifice something else. Like, I will make this happen. Yeah. It's having that fuck you energy, that dark side, whatever you want to call it, man. Like, being able
getting the chills just thinking about it, man.
Yeah. You're like, I'm ready to deadlift. But yeah, man, it's just like, I don't know, being able to draw that line in the sand for yourself. And it's not getting mad at yourself. It's just, it's channeling that feeling you get when you know that you could have done a little bit more, that you're cutting yourself short. Like, because I know one thing that bothers me more than anything is, like, if I finish a set or if I finish a workout, I had a couple more reps there. Or you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, like that'll bug you, man. That'll really bug you. And that's that transcends just in the gym. That's anything in life. But it's like, there's nothing wrong with being a little aggressive, with being on the offensive.
Yeah, and I think it should... You know what? No, fuck that. I think it should get to the point where it should bug you if you don't do what your standards are, Even, like, if you know the standards or you don't know them, there's a voice in there that's saying, oh, let me get 2 more on lat pull downs. Oh, let me get 1 more on deadlifts. Oh, let me do this, let me do that. And then if you choose not to do it and it doesn't bug you, there's a problem with you. That should bug you because you knew what it took to get better and you decided not to do it.
Yeah. And
that's a values issue.
Yeah, and maybe if it's one thing getting mad about it if you physically could not do it or if your rep would have been, poor technique or something like that. But I think part of it too is if you don't feel that, it might be creating the correlation of what you're doing and your goals. Like if you don't get a little upset about it or a little frustrated with it, and I'm using those words lightly, man, because I'm not saying it needs to throw off your whole day, but like it might be sitting in the back of your brain like, man, my workout was like a 6 out of 10 today because I wasn't on point.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be something there. And so if you have a goal of whatever, lose 20 pounds, and you're eating a chocolate chip cookie every day, like, eventually you got to get pissed off and be like, why do I keep doing this? Am I going to put this down or not?
Yeah.
And if you can't, and if you're not going to get upset about it, if you're not going to draw that line in the sand for yourself, like, there's some sort of disconnect there. Like, you think you can have the chocolate chip cookies and lose the 20 pounds, which maybe there's a world you can, but if it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like whenever you neglect that, and you do take those little shortcuts that you shouldn't be taking, that's when you start having conflicts in your head, and you start questioning who the fuck you are and what you're even doing and all of that. And nobody, I don't care who you are, nobody likes to doubt themselves, dude.
Yeah, and so that would be a pretty good pivot for something I'd like us to go into a little bit more here. But talking about nutrition, from the basis of adherence, I mean, that's kind of like, that's the base of the pyramid, man. Like, if you don't have any sort of adherence to your diet, if you're eating the chocolate chip cookies when it doesn't fit your calories or fit your macros, if you're, if you're fucking off and you're not tracking, if you're not having enough water, if you're not doing your walks, things like that. But as far as like nutrition goes, do you catch yourself ever doing that? Or is that something that you're pretty consistent with?
Now that I think about it, I'm actually extremely, so as of right now, I eat pretty much the same thing day in and day out.
Okay.
Unless I'm over here, like I know you've been hooking it up with Chick-fil-A, and I'll eat, one Chick-fil-A sandwich or something like that. But yeah, day in, day out, I eat the same thing. I wake up, I eat my 7 eggs with ketchup and two slices of bread. And then later on, I'll have a slice of bread with cottage cheese and a protein shake. And then my first lunch is, I guess it would be a cup of cooked rice, and then 3 pork loins, or as of lately I've been doing about 3/4 of a pound of ground beef, and then I'll have water with that with some ketchup on the rice, and I'll have the same thing for my second lunch. Before I work out, I'll have a big ass Kodiak pancake with some peanut butter and syrup, molasses syrup. Then I'll go work out. I'll come home. I'll have those, the toaster waffle things.
Yeah.
I'll have 3 of those with some more molasses syrup and a protein shake. And sometimes before I go to bed, again, I'll have my breakfast. So the 7 eggs with 2 slices of toast. But as of lately, I haven't even been eating that last meal just because, I don't feel like eating an hour before bed.
So with where you're at right now, I mean, weighing like 245 and powerlifting, so pushing the envelope, what do you consider your must-haves? Like, are you counting grams of protein? Or are you just trying to get, a certain amount of protein boluses per day? Like, what are you doing as far as macros and calories go? Like, what's your approach? I know you're doing the same thing every day, but how did you get to that point?
I guess, so at first, I, actually wrote a meal plan. I wrote that out, and I don't like tracking, and I can do it for a couple days, and then eventually I'll just fall off, just because writing the same shit every single day, it's kind of fucking pointless to me. So usually what I'll do, I'll pre-write my meal plan so that I know exactly what I'm eating day in, day out. I make sure that it's realistic. So personally, like me, I like eating my eggs every morning. I like eating my rice and meat per like every meal. I just started the pancake and stuff, or the high carbs before and after my workout. So like none of that stuff is going to change. Everything's going to stay consistent. Sure. One thing that will happen though is if I have a big lift, the next day, then I will pop in. I'll change the cottage cheese or the snack meal and a lunch meal for a huge cheat meal. Sure. But other than that, like everything.
To load yourself up with carbs, sodium.
Yeah, carbs, sodium. Yeah, just everything. Other than that, like I guess I just go, and I don't recommend anybody do this. I guess because I've been doing it for so long, I just go by how my body feels. So if I feel sore than I should be feeling, then I'll start consuming more carbs and a lot more protein. Okay. If I feel like I'm a little bit heavier than I should be, and maybe even a little bit sluggish, but I haven't lately, I'll just cut out carbs, or like half my carbs for a full day, and then I'll be back to normal the next day. Like I kind of know how my body works and how it feels and how it should feel. So I just adjust what I eat during the day accordingly.
Auto regulation.
Yeah, but this has taken years.
Sure.
Of knowing how my body reacts to things and taking things out, putting things back in, and all of that to get where I am right now. And I'm still not perfect right now, Like I could be tracking my calories and my macros and all of that.
Sure.
And I probably should be now that I say that. But yeah.
Yeah, I know for me personally, like where I start with clients is it's always going to be calories first. Well, let me take a step back there. It's always going to be a food journal first. So like before we're even talking about tracking calories or putting a number to things, I try to get everyone to just get in the habit of conscious eating. So food journaling, so writing things down. So, being sure you're on point there. But we've talked about that before. But the next step to that is just calories for energy balance. So being sure that you're eating a certain amount of calories, whether, in your scenario to fuel exercise, to maintain a certain body weight, to perform, to add lean tissue. Or if you're, looking to lose fat or something like that, like obviously you need to still be watching those calories because energy balance is what's going to determine it. From there, like typically I try to slowly crank up people's protein goals because if I ask someone to eat a gram of protein per body pound right off the bat, there's no chance.
Yeah.
Like if you try to take an average Joe who's 200 pounds and, has a standard American diet and then you're like, yeah, give me 200 grams of protein a day, there's no chance, man. So typically I try to start the protein goal somewhere that's a little bit more reachable and easy and then sort of slowly build it up over time because I like, sort of the step-by-step process rather than trying to like dive in head first and overwhelm people.
Yeah, that's a good idea because it's sustainable.
Right, exactly. So I would consider like protein and calories like a great point for most people. And I think a lot of people can get to their goals just monitoring those two things.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing, I don't know if you have this talk with your clients or not, but, no matter what my current goals are or whatever the hell, I will always have non-negotiables when it comes to my diet. Like I will never eat McDonald's. I'll never drink soda that's not diet soda. And even diet soda, like I'll never have more than 2 cups of diet soda on my cheat meal days.
Sure.
I'll never have just ice cream for the fun of it. Mm-hmm. There's things that you should and shouldn't be doing.
Sure.
And just don't do them. No matter what your goals are, if you're choosing not to do them, it's probably because there's a better choice out there. So,
and for some people, like right off the bat, you might not even need to sweat tracking calories and tracking protein. You might be able to be like, all right, I don't eat chips and I don't eat French fries. And with the way your standard diet is right now, boom, we just took out 2,000 calories a week of bullshit just by saying I don't eat chips and I don't eat French fries.
And that's probably going to help, like, just all the oils and all the carbohydrates. Sure. That's going to make you feel so much less sluggish.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to, help your digestive system. Like, that small change.
Yeah, and I don't want to misspeak here, but Travis, one of my pretty successful clients, dude's an animal as far as walking and tracking and being on point. But when we first started, he was 300 pounds, and we didn't start tracking calories, I want to say, until he was like 240. Yeah. Like we took a long time just like I think I'm pretty positive week 1 was literally no French fries. Mm-hmm. Week 2 was no chips. Week 3 was no soda. Like we just made like slow steps like that and kind of worked him down. Cause you have to think, man, like, if you're someone who's never been conscious of your health or your habits or your eating habits, or anything like that, like you're not just going to one day wake up and be Mr. Perfect and eat chicken breast and rice and asparagus at every meal. Yeah. Like it's a slow process. But again, when you take those slow steps and you kind of get things under your belt, then you can slowly ramp it up and you figure out, oh, I won't do French fries, but maybe I'll do the side salad. Oh, I won't do chips, maybe I'll do a cup of fruit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you come up with these other ideas and these other ways to get there. So I don't think it's like 100% necessary, especially if you have a lot to lose. But I definitely think it's a non-negotiable eventually. At some point, you got to figure out, like, here's how much energy I'm consuming. Here's how much energy my body is burning. Let me figure out how to adjust the numbers to move forward.
Yeah, and I think, like, most people would be extremely surprised on the results that they would get if they would just eat right. Like
Yeah.
just that simple thing.
Yeah.
And not only that, like maybe eating and stop eating whenever you're full.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that they'll be full, but because they still have food on their plate, they'll keep on
yeah.
eating. Like, dude, just stop. You know, if you're full for a reason,
Yeah.
you can eat that later.
Yeah.
You know, or how about the liquids? You know, there's so many people that have to drink soda, they have to drink tea,
Yeah.
they have to drink juice, milk.
Yeah.
Like all those things, if you were to just simplify your diet and make it just a tad more healthy.
Yeah. You'll see.
Or not
progress.
even
Yeah.
like healthy. Like I feel like just regular. Like, you know, we're not supposed to be drinking
Pulling out the
soda.
bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not supposed to
Pulling
be.
out the bullshit.
Yeah, man, just pull out the BS, go back to the basics. Just doing that alone will seriously just change most people's lives.
I did a Monday email about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, on if you were to drink a can of Coke every day, the way, you know, the calories equate. It's like 200 calories per day, 365 days in a year, whatever the math is. But it came out to something like 18 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
Like, because you can assume that 3,500 calories is a pound of adipose tissue, give or take. But yeah, man, I mean, it's pretty mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah.
That like some simple changes like that can really take you a long way. And I think it's also important to think about calories like you would think about money in your bank account, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a certain amount of budgeting to be done, and if you can keep that in the back of your brain, especially when you're eating something that maybe you know you shouldn't be eating, you can ask yourself the question like, hey, is this worth it? Like, is the bite of this donut going to be worth it?
Be so honest with yourself.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because like personally, man, like if I have 200 calories left, am I going to spend it on a Coca-Cola or a steak?
Yeah.
Am I gonna spend it on like, you know, half a handful of Sour Patch Kids or, you know, a whole cup of rice? You know what I'm saying? Like there's just when you think about it like from a budgeting standpoint, it tends to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of people struggle with their diet just because they're used to their diet. You know, they're used to, like personally, I know when I started eating healthy, like I thought that donuts would taste better than fruit, like would taste better than an apple. I thought that, I don't know, a thing of Chick-fil-A nuggets and fries would taste better than just, you know, pork and rice or, you know, steak and rice.
Sure.
When in reality, dude, you're going to feel so much better eating it. You're going to be saving money eating it or eating the right thing. And like, it's an easy choice. All you got to do, I feel like all you have to do is try it. And then you'll be like, oh, wait, this is actually pretty good. And this is definitely doable. You know, like, okay, I can do this. Yeah.
Well, and you got to think a lot of those foods are made to be hyper palatable too, man. So like they
the
load those
crunch
things
and the
with
salt.
you're exactly right. The crunch, the salt, the sugar, the MSG, the, you know, all of it, man, is made to be like, our natural instinct is to get as many calories as we can so we can survive.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, when you taste those things and your body immediately knows like, oh, this is going to give me extra energy. This is going to give me fat reserves. This is going to give me things to survive with. But we're not meant to overload on those things every day.
Yeah, stop overloading. That's the big thing. I mean, you can feel whether you've had enough or not.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But we keep on going, man.
100%.
Because it's so easy. Like, okay, I remember when I was big, and this is going to be crazy to think, there were so many times where I would go buy donuts for the kids and I would have a dozen donuts, give it to them, and I would eat a dozen donuts myself.
Jeez,
a dozen donuts, dude.
That's wild.
And I remember when
Just
I lost.
another day.
Yeah, just
another day.
Yeah, another weekend. Like I would do it every weekend.
Yep.
And
like, oh, it's Saturday, time to get 2 dozen donuts.
Dude, not to mention, you know, during the week, multiple times a week, I would have these cinnamon roll packs, and you know, I'd make one for the kids, and then I'd make 8 cinnamon rolls for me.
Oh yeah.
You know, and after I lost the 120 pounds, dude, I would look at donuts and I would taste it and I'd be like,
it's not the same.
Bro, this shit is whack. Like an apple, seriously, an apple tastes so much better than the crunch of an apple. And the fact that you don't feel, I mean, I'm sure this is like a diabetic issue, but you don't feel like sleepy after eating apple, and you don't feel like crap, and you don't hate yourself, not hate, but you don't question like your motives.
You're not angry about it.
Yeah, bro, like, Come on, man.
Yeah, it's funny you use the example of an apple, because when I was prepping for this last show, and I would also like to state that I diet as hard as I need to, but I'm pretty against like the starving approach. I'm pretty against the 1,000 calories a day kind of bullshit. So like the lightest I went for this last prep was like 1,900 calories, and aside from like depletion days, which were just a few days out and not for a long period of time at all. But where I was going with that is it was really interesting, because as I was dieting, over a long period of time and just restricting foods, like the way that my appreciation for food and I think my taste buds changed was pretty ridiculous, man. Like days that I would have like a Honeycrisp apple where it would like crunch in my mouth, I was like,
sensational.
Yeah, man. I was like, dude, I would take this over, God, anything else. Like, it's interesting how your appreciation for food changes as soon as you start to cut out the hyper palatable, the salty, the sugary, the crunchy, you know what I mean? The stuff like that. Like, it's interesting how it changes, and you're so much more appreciative because of that deprivation.
I think that's what it is. Like, again, we're just so used to the sodas. We're so used to the cake, the pies.
Yeah.
We're so used to all of that changing it just sounds weird, and we just assume that it wouldn't be better the other way around.
Yeah, and it's like, if you can eat a sweet potato and it doesn't seem sweet to you, like, you probably got to lay off the bullshit, man.
Yeah, dude. Until it does seem sweet, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, and then suddenly there's nothing that beats like a steak and sweet potato, or you know what I mean? Like there's out of nowhere, it's like, oh wow, this food is nutritious and it's delicious.
Yeah, and I know, like I said about the donuts and the cinnamon rolls, like my favorite desserts were donuts, cinnamon rolls, the cream cheese cinnamon rolls, and cheesecake. Dude, I do not eat that now. Man. Just because it's whack. Like, I will not ever eat a donut, cheesecake, or what was the third one? Cinnamon rolls. Yeah. Like, it's just pointless. It's just a bowl of sugar. Man. Unless it's a post-workout. But even that, like, I would have the cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
And that's on some days.
And you would do, like, a fourth of the quantity you used to.
Yeah, like, dude. Like, 8 cinnamon rolls?
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. It's such an interesting thing, like the way our perception is around food and nutrients and things like that, man. It's very odd to me.
And it's a simple change that we got to make.
Yeah.
Maybe not easy, but it's definitely simple. You could sit down, take 5 minutes, write down the things that you believe you shouldn't be eating, and maybe write down the things you can exchange them for, and make the commitment to drink water instead of your coffee juice, and honestly I say milk. Like, boom, that one thing would change your outlook on, or would change your life in general, dude.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because coming at it from like a budgeting standpoint, like I mentioned earlier, like so many things just aren't worth it. And we build up these things in our head, like our favorite dessert is this, or our favorite fast food place is this. And it's like, man, maybe that first bite is good, but the second bite is never there.
No.
It's never there. I'm serious, man. Like, let's say you're going on an ice cream date. It's tomorrow, and you've been thinking about it for a while, and you know what kind of flavor you're going to get, and you've saved some calories and some macros for it. That first bite, man, does it hit. The rest of it, and
it's almost like you have to force yourself to eat
you're like,
it.
I paid for this, I might as well eat it. I don't want to waste food, Like, that's a scenario you land in. Like, it's like part of it is we just build up these, like, foods and tastes and things and experiences in our head, and it's like, I got 500 calories. Do I really want to dedicate it all to this fucking, half a piece of cheesecake or something? Or do I want to have a whole nother meal? Yeah, man. Yeah. It's just odd to me.
I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like we just choose to live in confusion. We all know what's right for us. We all know this. We all know that. We're not having a shortage of information.
Yeah.
Like, everything's out there. It's just we're deciding for immediate gratification. We're deciding to hold off on changing until tomorrow, until the next New Year's resolution. We're deciding on just waiting.
Yep.
Instead of making the easy or the simple choice to just do it now.
Yep, and I'm not going to use the word discipline here. I'm going to use the word choice, but it's the sooner you start making those choices, the sooner the fog kind of clears. The
Yeah.
sooner you get it, the sooner, you go.
Do not hide in the unwanted fog.
Yeah, do not hide unwanted things in the fog, man. Do not. But, the sooner you clear that fog,
I
that
said that wrong.
you make, you get the point. But the sooner you clear the fog and make those choices for yourself, suddenly, like, you've gone 6 months without having soda, and then one day you're like, oh, I guess I'll have this soda. Oh shit, this is not worth it.
Yeah.
It.
And then you look at the calories and you're like, what the hell? 50 grams of sugar for
Yeah.
1 cup?
Yeah, the longer you make and I'm going to say the right choice here, the longer you make the right choice and get farther away from the wrong choice, the less appealing the wrong choice seems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a compounding effect. It's compounding interest.
Yeah, it makes it easier on you to make the right choices.
Yeah, yeah. So the longer you do it, the more efficient you become at it. The less of a brain game it becomes, the less it actually takes discipline, and it's just ingrained in you.
Yeah,
You don't even have to sweat it.
Yeah, and then you no longer have the, potential of making a mistake and choosing the wrong thing, and then having that self-doubt and questioning your beliefs and, not working toward your goals. Like, just make the right choices now, tomorrow, the next day, your next meal.
Yeah.
And eventually those right choices will be your only choices.
Yeah, just 1% better, man. Just 1% better. Like, if
Yeah.
every week you can pull something back, if every week you can add something good in, like, there's different ways to go about it, but the more choices you make that are to your benefit in the long term instead of the short term, the more the fog clears, the more it makes sense.
Yeah. 100%.
100%. Let's wrap it up there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank y'all for listening.